An archive code. Has the rest of the city suffered quite so badly? Now then, can you do this for me? Will you ensure this data is used for good? The only system that remained vaguely functional, by the Serpent's grace, were the intercoms, which allowed me to coax you into resetting the power. It drives our actions, guides our hands, and brings us what we require in our moments of need, like a well-timed rescue. Or, say, information on the state of the city. Threatening an old man. Perhaps the UC is not so changed after all. At least, we tried. That is unfortunate. And I can't convince you to reconsider. I'd be inclined to help if I knew I could trust your intentions. The Great Serpent is so much more than a god. It is fate itself.
Could you assure me you will take nothing else? Can I have your word?
Here, the code machine is in the next room. Use it for good. Truly unfortunate. But it does beg the question as to why the Serpent sought to send me a visitor now. You are with the colonies, obviously, but what draws you here? That is all I ask. An impasse, then. Well, I am in no position to keep you from taking it. My fighting days and my guards are all long gone. I would not even know of her myself were it not for the urgent need to pass on communications a year ago. Perhaps you've come to your senses, then, Do I have your word you'll take the data on the terror morphs and nothing else? She has her own calling, as I have mine, but I assume that she, like most of our observers, was instructed to keep her history private.
Ah. And there's the thread. Alien in spaceport, alien data in the archives. Knowledge of the terror morph specifically, I presume.
Serpent, grant me strength.
At least, we tried.
Well, then I shall not fear. Indeed. I was not expecting a believer on my doorstep. The colony sent you, yes? Clearly, they must want something desperately. The knowledge you ask for isn't evil. No knowledge is. It is we who bend it to evil ends. Oh, you must assure me this will be used to save lives, not endanger them. That is all I ask. It is the sap of the tree that gives it its... well, perhaps not a topic for this exact moment.
I presume then there's knowledge of the terror morph stored away in there? What are you planning to do with it?
With little success. So, what seems punishment becomes providence. A reminder we can never truly know the Great Serpent's designs for us. You introduce yourself with lies. Unfortunate. Leave me. With my brethren gone, it has been trying. But the Great Serpent has always provided me a path in my darkest moments. Now, it cannot solely be the Serpent's grace that brought you here at such an opportune moment. It is, perhaps, not my place to say. But what of the rest of the city? Does it still stand? Something I look forward to discussing further. Once we've established why it is you two have come waltzing through my door uninvited. You were sent by the UC. That much is obvious. Who else could just waltz through my door? Now, the broadcast earlier spoke of terror morphs at the spaceport. Our embassy is in more dire need of repair than I thought. When our founder, Jinan Varun, left the United Colonies 140 years ago for distant stars, it was the Serpent that compelled him to found his now great house. You are welcome to take some time to think, because I will not sully House Varun's name by wavering now. By my estimation, the disturbance at the spaceport somehow tripped this old monument's power grid, causing it to lurch into a defensive posture. I would ask you to remember, the Great Serpent judges us all. House Varun was known only as an agent of slaughter for many years, but we shed that role when the Serpent's crusade ended.
Fill out in second.
I will not let that be my legacy. You can either agree to my terms, or do what you must. And few are welcome ones. Let it be used for good.
Ah. And the answer reveals itself. A broadcast about aliens in spaceport, a visitor asking for data in the archives. Knowledge of terror morphs, I presume? Fill out more in second pass.
Unfortunately, all I can give is my thanks. So the UC requires information then. On terror morphs, presumably, Do I see this all clearly? And sealing me in my chambers. While I long to return to a world where that might turn out well for me, no, I am no raving zealot. It seems giving our Venom Tree free rein may have caused more issues than I'd wish to admit, but who could cage such a beauty? Create the legacy that our people deserve.
On its face a noble use for dangerous information.
I take it you didn't have such an experience where you were, then, Today, however, our zealots undo that labor with their every malicious breath. I will not allow bloodshed to become Varun's sole legacy again. So then, can I trust you will take nothing but this terror morph data? Do I have your word? I abandoned my house, my family, because I could not stomach the idea of that becoming our sole legacy. Well then, I shall not fear, but I will not willingly be a party to more death. You may do as you see fit. You have my thanks, and my apologies for the ordeal you just endured. Come, let us discuss. The serpent made us who we are today. Its voice speaks to us, shepherding us through the dark, and infuses our lives with the meaning the universe so often fails to provide.
I was worried they might not be enjoyed our little game of cat and mouse as much as I was.
For years, House Varun has been known only as an agent of slaughter. We founded this embassy with hopes of shedding that legacy. A fine counterexample, responsible for the deaths of millions on ancient Earth.
And walking into battle against a foe like that unprepared is the truest form of foolishness. UC exchange might be an easier visit. I'm sure you could get a slate or two to hold your interest.
I stayed here, leaving behind the house, our family, because I could not stomach the idea of that becoming our sole legacy. I might be willing to support you if I knew I would not be tarnishing the legacy of House Varun by doing so. The Great Serpent guide your path. Am I correct then? You require my code to collect terrormorph data from the archives, With little success. You have my thanks. Though you'll understand if an old man doesn't bow. Please, come in. The affairs of House Varun are our own. They left. That is all there is to be said on the subject. We cannot know all the results of one's actions, certainly, but intentions, those we can command. I want you to assure me yours are noble ones. Harmless spores, you have my word, but hard to navigate. Hence why I was guiding you through the intercoms to reset the power and release me. But I must know of the rest of the city. Does it still stand? Harmless spores, you have my word, but hard to navigate. Hence why I was guiding you through the intercoms to restore the environmental controls and release me.
That is why you're here, isn't it?
And here you are with a similar conundrum. I will not bend to such crass measures. You may agree to my terms, or make good on your threats. But if I am to grant you access, I have a requirement. In exchange for my code, I require this. You must be the one who ensures it is used for good. Ensure House Varun's legacy is more than just carnage.
But at least, now, the thread is clear. I heard the broadcast, aliens in the spaceport, and now a visitor asking for data in the archives.
It was tolerable, even pleasant, when my brethren were here in the embassy with me. There is urgency in your voice. The UC, they fear for their people.
Well, you can report back I'm still here. Ambassador Kodin of House Vieruan hasn't abandoned his post. Will you do this?
Will we all be so lucky next time the archives need to be accessed? Something to think on. No great stretch of the imagination to see that. As plainly as one can see, you were sent by the colonies. But what mission, I wonder? The great serpent I serve abandoned the crusade many decades ago. You have my thanks for my rescue. And there. Well then, we remade this place as best we could into a home we all would recognize. Our native flora, our iconography, our connection to the serpent, they came with us. I suspect the venom tree upstairs has worked itself into more systems than I'd realized. But then again, who could cage such a beauty? But I will not permit that to be all that is known of us. Good. Yes, the entire embassy was thrown into lockdown, trapping me in my quarters, disabling the venom tree's filters, and arming the defenses. Absolutely capable of being put to violence, but not evil in itself. Here, take it and leave. Grant me that much dignity. Well, I believe we return to our impasse. I cannot provide my code without assurances. Is that right, huh? I shall need to have these repairs seen to sooner rather than later, and the broadcast spoke of terror morphs at the spaceport. Do you have any news of the outside? Did all the city suffer as badly as the embassy? Or have I let the venom tree run too rampant? Tell me, though, what is it like outside? I heard the broadcast mentioning an attack, then the embassy was struck with a power surge, and then... Silence. You are an experienced monster. We know our own, and I have so little strength left in me. Please, follow me.
At least, we tried.
Perhaps I have given the venom tree more freedom than was wise. But who could cage such a beauty, huh? This was said at the time to be the desire of the Great Serpent, and I do not believe the Serpent decides such things on a whim. I presume you'd still be wandering up there without restored environmental controls. You, of course, are correct. I cannot force the great UC to do anything. But I can choose to live a life I needn't be ashamed of.
Well, if you are with Aegis, you might let your superiors know an etiquette section in their training regimen wouldn't be out of order.
And, fireworks? So if I give you this code, I will require that you be the one who makes sure it is used for good. To ensure House Varun's legacy is more than just carnage. Quite the breach in protocol, Andreja.
That sounds like one of the most noble causes such data could be put to. Now, what exactly do the colonies plan to do with this data?
More time could be spent tidying, I suppose, but I entertain so few guests. I was not expecting a fellow believer on my doorstep.
No fear violating any interfactional treaties either. Now, if you'd be so kind, the UC's plans for the archival data?
Hopefully it was not a too painful journey. Without power, the venom tree's pollen was no doubt an unpleasant, though luckily benign, obstacle. Now, it cannot solely be the Serpent's grace that brought you, working in tandem with old foes. A promising sign for your endeavor. You have the opportunity to do the same. Now, will you reconsider? I will continue to serve the Serpent, thanks to you. So, what seems punishment becomes providence. A good reminder we cannot know all the Serpent's designs for us. Let's hope it still works. At least, we tried. I'm willing to lend my support to a responsible endeavor. Are you sure I can't change your mind? Not the ideal introduction, I suppose, giving you a grand tour of the embassy via barely functioning intercoms. I do greatly appreciate your persistence. The preservation of life stands as the very purpose of the archives. Using its data to prevent more attacks, there is logic there. For years, our house was known only for slaughter, but we shed that role when the Serpent's Crusade ended. For years, House Varun has been known only as an agent of slaughter. We came here with hopes of shedding that legacy. House Varun committed itself to the armistice. She must trust you a great deal to have told you. I suggest you keep it to yourself, for both of your sakes. I cannot in good conscience give you this code if I am not assured it will be put to noble purposes. Can you do that? So, when my brethren left, I remained, honoring the Serpent's will as I saw fit, as is the right of all his followers. And your friend here. A disconcerting experience, to say the least. Was the rest of the city spared? I will not have House Varun be known only for slaughter. A worrying occurrence, certainly, but coming here of all places, when all I could provide is some enthused cheerleading and...
What's the information on the state of the city?
The Great Serpent is the voice in the unfathomable darkness that calls out to all members of House Varun.
Tell me, Captain, what are the colonies planning to do with this data? Unless the archives also contain information about turning terrormorphs into fairies and making sweetened tea pour from the city fountains.
Very well. Then you're welcome to go.